Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here and you feel like you got a little bit of that common sense that's not so common, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you don't, common sense is a disease I'm trying to make highly contagious. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button anyway, okay? And today on my channel, it's going to be a common folk perspective video on House Bill 71 from 2024. Because I looked at this bill and I was like, ain't no way. But there was a way, okay? Remember, I don't have any official law training or any official law degree, so don't come for me. But first and foremost, my name is Key, and this is What's the Key.
For me, break, for me, break the body for me.
All right, let's get right into it. As always, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes, and any bell or that little munching you're hearing is my cat City doing kitty things, all right? House Bill 71, okay? So this was signed by Governor Jeff Landry, who is a Republican, whose picture I am putting here. Because he was real bold. And when I say we got some quotes, he was real bold. So his picture will be in here. But the purpose of this bill was to enact relative to public elementary, secondary, and post-secondary schools to provide for the display of the Mayflower Compact, the Declaration of Independence, the Northwest Ordinance, and the Ten Commandments. To provide for displays in each classroom, to provide relative to the use of donations or the acceptance of donated displays for this purpose, to provide for applicability, to provide for legislative intent, to provide for historical context, to provide for an effective date, and to provide for related matters, okay? So, going through this bill, let me give y'all a quick gist. The only thing that they really cared about being posted in the classroom was those 10 commandments. And these 10 commandments were the Protestant version. I hope I'm saying that right. So, at the beginning of this bill, they decided to list out 3 different Supreme Court cases they felt were enough justification for them to enforce the 10 commandments being put into all the public classrooms. So in 2005, the Supreme Court recognized that it is permissible to display the 10 commandments on government property. Okay, so all they said is that it's permissible. They didn't say go around and start forcing people. All right, in 2006, the legislature enacted Act Number 602, which provided the Secretary of State to publish 10 commandments and other historically significant documents for posting in courthouses and other buildings to address the need to educate and inform as to the history and background of American and Louisiana law. So then they went back on their own legislators, looked at their version of 10 commandments that they posted and all the documents that they created that could be posted in those public spaces for that historical significant history. Then in 2019, the Supreme Court recognized that the 10 commandments had historical significance as one of the foundations for our legal system, okay? And they ruled that displaying the 10 commandments on public property has multiple purposes, such as the historical significance, and it represents a common culture heritage. This is what they put in the bill. This is in the bill. I'm reading y'all in the bill. Yes, they put all this in the bill. It gets worse. So they recognize the 10 Commandments' role in history and state, and they stated including it in children's education is part of the state and national history, culture, and tradition. Okay, we do all this work to separate the church and state. They're stating that the text that they are using is the same one that's being held up by the Supreme Court. So remember when I said the Supreme Court made all those significant historical documents, this is one of the documents that they are using. They go on to talk about the Mayflower Compact of 1620, and they said it was the Americans' first written constitution and made a covenant with Almighty God to form a civil body politic. States that this was the first pure documentation of self-government and affirmed in link between civil society and God. And to form a civil body politic is a quote that on the controversy side, they're saying, y'all making up quotes now to put in here. Because I'm reading some of these quotes and I'm like, this is quoted, where? Like, where on a real historical significant document, not any man-made, and y'all know what I mean by man-made and translation kind of stuff. because the document's got to be man-made originally. But where they put this at? That this is a true thing and not someone's belief. That's what I want to know. Okay. Then they go on to talk about the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. And they said it extended the fundamental principles of civil and religious liberty to the territories and state, and stated religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind. Schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. So that is the reasoning behind why the Mayflower Compact, the Northwest Ordinance, and the 10 Commandments should be put in school, because the Declaration of Independence is already something that is in school, so they don't have to fight for that. The rest of them, they feel like, is a lot of reasoning. And my thing is, why is all y'all reasoning so religious? Like, I get state history, but why can't we just put it in the history classes? Why can't you make it a requirement for all history classes to hold these? Why does it have to go in the math class, the English class? Are they counting the gym as a public classroom? So now, do they have to have the 10 Commandments posted in the gym? Like, yeah. I remember growing up, under God was already controversial. You want to put the 10 Commandments in schools? I'm going to have more opinions later. Okay, next, moving on. So no later than January 1st, 2025, each public post-secondary education school should display the 10 Commandments in each classroom. They also want you to explain the history of them in public education and about how it was printed. And they talked about the time it was printed back in the 1800s and back in 1975. It was used in textbooks. They used two examples of two authors who decided to put it in their textbooks. So this is why it got to be displayed in classrooms, and it's in part of public education. Public education. And that's the thing that's killing me. Y'all gotta excuse me. I didn't realize that my throat was still really kind of from when I was sick. So if I start to cackling, that's why my throat was like, I didn't give you 5 minutes. Now, it's optional for them to display the Mayflower Compact, the Northwest Ordinance, and the Declaration of Independence along with the 10 Commandments. How is the Declaration of Independence more optional than the 10 Commandments? Like, how are any of these that are written historical documents more optional than the 10 Commandments, which is only known to be a religious document? Like, I really want to know, how do they go from the government and Supreme Court saying it all could be to must be when it came to the 10 Commandments? Like, it's just funny to me that the Declaration of Independence is more of an option. If anything, I would have said put the Declaration of Independence in every classroom before the 10 Commandments. They specify in this document that schools should not be using funding for this, so they should either be taking donations of the display or taking donations of money to get the displays, but they should not be using any funding on this. And they make sure to emphasize that, because they know if taxpayers had to start using their money on this, they'd have been done. Next, State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education shall adopt rules and regulations in accordance with the Admin Procedure Act to ensure the proper implementation and identify appropriate resources to comply with the free of charge. So now they expect every school to put in a policy in place to have the 10 Commandments listed and ways to receive the displays needed for this. Now, this section 3 had me over here looking at the freaking Republicans like y'all done lost y'all rabbit ass mind. Like, they said in this section right here, the last part, and I'm looking back to the bills we talked about, and I don't think any other bill ended like this. Okay? No matter what, they were about to make sure this passed. Okay? They said this shall become effective if the governor passes this. If the governor doesn't sign it and it just expires past the time, it passes. Okay? So the governor signs it, it passes. If the time passes, it passes. And then if the government vetoes it, but the legislators say yes, it passes. There's no option for this bill not to be, like, pretty much, like, they said, oh, we got power. We're going to abuse our power, and we're going to do it right now, okay? I mean, that part was crazy when I read it. But Governor Landry, picture, signed it. Okay, and he got real bold with the quotes when he signed this. Let me get into some of these quotes that he talked about, okay? When they talked about the ACLU, talked about suing them, the American Civil Liberties Union, Governor Landry said, can't wait to be sued. Your governor is saying he can't wait to be sued? Who does that? Where's the professionalism? Republicans? Even if you are going to do something that is completely, abuse of power, people aren't going to shut your mouth. Y'all are showing y'all stupidity. You're showing the redneck stupidity that people see. No offense to my rednecks. I do like, I got a couple back in Illinois that I'm cool with. But y'all know what I'm talking about. His other quote, because the parents were saying, I don't want my child to look at it. He quoted, tell the child not to look at it. Governor Landry is the type of person that you could tell he ain't never been in the hood, probably nor around any other race outside of whites. He makes sure his circle isn't, because I can't imagine any other race. I'm gonna take that back, because I can imagine you being slapped by an Asian too. But you feel like you can just boldly talk like this into a professional setting? A governor? There's some things to be bold about. This wasn't it. There's some things that you could say things like this and I'd be like, yep, tell them, surely, this is not it. Landry, this is not it. Who raised you? You sound like a mediocre. You sound like a mediocre. And I'm gonna leave it at that. And some of y'all gonna know what I'm talking about. All right? But currently this law is blocked by the federal district court judge, John D. Gravelis. And I'm gonna put his picture in because, of course, he blocked it. He had some quotes of his own, all right? He stated, the people challenging it have easily established a likelihood of success when it came to this bill and having it stopped, okay, before January 1st, 2025. Okay, so as of right now, from what I can see, this bill is not in effect. It was paused a month ago from the latest news article that I read about it. It was paused a month ago. So he said that they have a likelihood of success in this First Amendment case. This is the first time somebody has yelled the First Amendment is being violated, and I'm like, yeah. What? You can't just force? And let me tell y'all who else is suing this, okay? There's also 9 families who are against this being put in schools, who are part of the group to sue and get this stopped. These families are Jewish, Christian, Unitarian, Universalist, and other non-religious families in Louisiana. They were considered the plaintiffs in that case. They said it heavily focused on the Protestant beliefs. It's not, you didn't decide to put everybody's beliefs. You chose one belief and decided it has to be in the school above the Declaration of Independence. The judge also stated that the defense ring hollow. Okay, so it doesn't have any sound evidence behind it, any meat in there to really be a good defense. Another quote, he said, it's not neutral towards religion. Clearly not. And then another quote from him, in short, the act is coercive to students, and for all practical purposes, they, the students, cannot opt out of viewing the 10 Commandments when they are displayed in every classroom every day of the year, every year of their education. Okay? In this case was Rev Roke versus Brumley. I'll put that up there too. Because I know my pronunciations could be wrong. I just want y'all to have the right one. I don't want to have to spell out everything for y'all. Also, people who were involved with this was the American United for the Separate for Church and State and the Freedom for Religion Foundation. Other states that have already enacted something like this or are talking about it or proposing a bill for it is Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, and South Carolina. Okay, all seen as religious states. I never knew South Carolina was. But Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, I knew. Tennessee, I knew from being there from a while. So that's crazy. I had to do this bill. I had to do this bill for two reasons. One, what? Like what? That was one. It was like, what? Two, when I got to the end of it and I'm over here reading the ending where it's basically saying this is going to pass no matter what, I said, oh, we really showing that we hold the power over here. Okay? And it was like, wow, I like to put the names up there because, you know, people, you live there, look at them names. Maybe they're people you don't want to select next time on the ballot. Okay? Maybe you make sure you put no for all those names. All right? But that brings us to the end of the video. Don't forget it a thumbs up if you like the things I was saying. I said all my opinions. Let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. All right? Bye.
For me, break, break, for me, break the body for me.